Hi, I'm Scott Siegel, and welcome to the fourth All-Star edition of my Great American Songbook concert series starring some of Broadway's most talented musical theater stars. Now, I don't have to tell you that America is in crisis right now. Events have escalated far beyond a mere pandemic. It's crazy out there. All the more reason, I think, to turn to music, right? And especially this music, our songbook, the great hits that have bound us together emotionally, culturally, and socially over the last 100 years. As Jack Kerouac once said, the only truth is music. So this concert will feature a number of songs that we hope will resonate in some way with your current feelings about what's happening, and some songs I hope will offer what might be welcome moments of respite from what's been going on as well. Summing up, our cumulative intention is to give you moments to think, to feel, to hope, inspire you maybe, all the while hoping to entertain you as well. It's a high bar. Wish us luck. To begin, here's a song that has become one of musical theater's most fervent prayers. It was born on Broadway in 1957 with music by Leonard Bernstein and lyrics by Stephen Sondheim in West Side Story. The song became immortal when it was performed in the Oscar-winning film version in 1961, and it came back to us in the current revival that was on Broadway until the pandemic closed it down. There's a brand new movie version of West Side Story under the direction of Steven Spielberg awaiting us on the other side of this virus. And right now, with our cities smoldering, this song could not be more relevant. To sing it for you, please welcome the first Asian American to play the role of Christine Daae in the Broadway production of The Phantom of the Opera. Here is Ali Ewoldt.
There's a place for us somewhere, a place for us, peace and quiet and open air. Wait for us somewhere. There's a time for us someday, a time for us, time together with time to spare, time to look, time to care. Someday, somewhere, we'll find a new way of living. We'll find a way of forgiving. There's a place for us, a time and place for us. Hold my hand and we're halfway there. Hold my hand and I'll take you there. Somehow, someday, somewhere.
As you know, given the state of our world right now, there are a mountain of obstacles to performing, not the least of which is that theater people are all out of work. But I want you to know that for this concert, everybody's getting paid. I set up a GoFundMe campaign in order to raise money to pay performers to sing. And thanks to more than 90 generous lovers of the Great American Songbook who contributed amounts large and small, I've been able to create now 4 different concerts, including this one, that those 90 wonderful people have produced. You'll see all their names at the end of this concert. They are the producers of our show. We love them all. If you want to keep the series alive, please consider becoming a producer yourself. Think of it this way. If you would have otherwise been able to go to a club or a concert, by donating instead, look at all the money you're saving. No transportation costs, no taxis, no parking fees, no minimum. Eat what you like when you like, out of your own refrigerator. Look, right there, you're saving a fortune, right? Finally, you get the best seat in the house. No head in front of you, and besides, you probably have a more comfortable chair at home anyway. If you enjoy the show and you want to enjoy more of this music and see more of these stars performing for you, please do something kind and generous. All you have to do is go to GoFundMe.com and search for Let's Pay Performers to Perform. Click on that and donate. Any amount you feel comfortable with will be hugely appreciated, I promise you. Now, our next song was first heard over the opening credits of Walt Disney's 1940 animated classic Pinocchio by the character of Jiminy Cricket. 80 years later, it still inspires hope. When you think about it, the song's lyric embodies a uniquely American idea. When you wish upon a star, makes no difference who you are. Anything your heart desires will come to you. Naive? Sure. But in its simplicity, in its honest sincerity, it reaches for an America we want to be true. To perform this Disney classic number for you, please welcome one of Broadway's most enduring young stars. I think most of us first discovered her in the off-Broadway hit Bat Boy, but she's been in a total of 12 Broadway musicals, including her Tony-nominated role in Xanadu, and more recently getting raves for her performances in Mean Girls and then Beetlejuice. Performing at home on her ukulele, here is Carrie Butler.
When a star is born, they possess a gift or two. One of them is this: they have the power to make a wish come true. When you wish upon a star, it makes no difference who you are. Anything your heart desires will come to you. If your heart is in your dreams, no request is too extreme. When you wish upon a star, as dreamers do. It is God, He brings to us who love the sweet fulfillment of the secret longing. Like a boat that would blue, banks dancing and seas of blue. When you wish upon a star, your dreams come true.
In 1943, while America stood on the precipice of either winning or losing World War II, our survival in the balance, Oklahoma opened on Broadway. Here was a musical that celebrated American unity, and I say that despite the recent reinterpretation of the show was just on Broadway. After all, one of the songs in the middle of the score says, "The farmer and the cowboy should be friends." In the midst of our greatest war, it was a musical about coming together as a country. And that sense of hope was embodied in the musical's first song that greeted a new day in the show and a new day in musical theater history. To sing that famous song for you, please welcome a young woman who was the star of the Broadway hit Jagged Little Pill before the virus closed it down. For her performance, she was nominated for a Drama Desk Award. I'm sure a Tony nomination awaits her when they get around to it. She has starred on Broadway in Company, $1 Million Quartet, and Crybaby, not to mention Broadway by the Year at Town Hall. Ladies and gentlemen, here is Elizabeth Stanley.
There's a bright golden haze on the meadow. There's a bright golden haze on the meadow. The corn is as high as an elephant's eye. It looks like it's climbing clear up to the sky. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. I've got a beautiful statues. All the cows are standing like statues. They don't turn their heads just to see me right by. And a little brown maverick is winking her eye. What a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. And I've got a beautiful feeling. Everything's going my way. All the sounds of the earth are like music. All the sounds of the earth are like music. The breeze is so busy, it don't miss a tree. And the old weeping willow is laughing at me. I say, oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. And I got a beautiful feeling. Everything's going my way. Everything's going my way. Oh, what a beautiful day.
I'll be the first to admit that the next song you're going to hear is not quite yet a Great American Songbook classic. It takes a while to earn that distinction, and this song is of a pretty recent vintage. It comes from the 2011 Broadway musical Catch Me If You Can. And even then, it wasn't one of the show's most famous numbers, yet this up-tempo, upbeat, catchy duet offers us an optimistic point of view and how we all might keep from drowning in our current sea of troubles. The song is titled Butter Out of Cream, and to perform it for you, we have a Drama Desk nominee who lives on the West Coast and a young star from the cast of Wicked who lives on the East Coast, who are going to digitally perform it for you together. Please welcome a gentleman who starred for me in the very first Broadway by the Year at Town Hall 20 years ago, Jason Graae, and his sidekick who also happens to be the son of a Tony Award winner, Debbie Gravitte, who has also performed for me at Town Hall many times. He's the up-and-coming new star, Sam Gravitte. Here are Jason and Sam.
Remember that story I learned at your feet? Well, now it's my turn, take a seat. Two little mice of great renown fell in some milk and one proceeded to drown. The other one still the toast of the town, 'cause he made butter out of cream. He looked around, deduced his plight, said this is no way to spend a Saturday night. But he had the style to make things right, so he made butter out of cream. He kicked his legs up, he tossed and turned, so not to end up a ghost. He did the hokey pokey while the cream was churned. Then baby, he walked right out and buttered his toast. Now he's on top, for goodness sakes. Yeah, he's the big cheese up at Land O'Lakes. He's living proof that pop all it takes is a scheme. So if you land in the gutter, just make butter out of cream. It's your turn, Jay.
Oh, I'm in this too?
No, this is Gravitte and Graae.
Guess I should have warmed up. But you know, there was a cockroach in Brazil, got drunk at his local coffee mill. His time was almost up until he made coffee out of beans. When he came to, he heard such a sound, and much to his shock, when he looked around, he had been scooped and was about to be ground, so he made coffee out of beans. He marched to the south and he stomped to the north. He had to race against fate. He did the cucaracha while those tears poured forth. Then, Senor, things began to percolate. He held his breath and swam to the top. He borrowed beans from his mom and pop, then opened up his own coffee shop out in Queens. When his lights were almost out, he just made coffee out of beans.
Let's take it home, Jay.
Come on, Sammy. Let's take it home.
I just said that.
Okay.
So think of those two when life's the pits.
The bug
And the mouse
at the end of their wits. They knew the key to life is that it's what you dream. So if lemons clog your sink up, don't just stand around and scream. Spike some lemonade and drink up, and make butter out of cream. Just make butter out of cream.
Make some butter out
I
of
hear what you're saying, Sam. Just make butter out of cream. I love you, Sam. Keep the faith.
Next up is the thoughtfully combined mashup of two songs that relate not only to each other but also to these troubled times. The first was written by Charlie Chaplin for his 1936 movie masterpiece, Modern Times. The song with which it has been combined is from the 1960 Broadway musical Do Re Mi, a song that has become far more famous than the musical from which it originated. The first song is about smiling through your tears, and the second song takes things a step further, insisting that the best way to happiness for yourself is to make someone else happy. To that end, we have with us a young woman who has spent pretty much her whole adult life making people happy as one of America's most famous puppeteers on both Sesame Street and Broadway. She was one of the stars of the original Broadway production of Avenue Q, for which she was nominated for a Tony Award as Kate Monster. Like so many sequestered away during the pandemic, she picked up a ukulele and taught herself how to play it. Please welcome Stephanie D'Abruzzo.
Smile, though your heart is aching. Smile, even though it's breaking. When there are clouds in the sky, you'll get by. If you smile through your fear and sorrow, smile, and maybe tomorrow you'll see the sun come shining through. If you just make someone happy, make just one someone happy, make just one heart the heart you sing to. One smile that cheers you, one face that lights when it nears you, one soul you're everything to. Fame, if you win it, comes and goes in a minute. Where's the real stuff in life to cling to? Love is the answer. Someone to love is the answer. Once you found them, build your world around them. Make someone happy. Make just
The year was 1932, when Cole Porter wrote what is perhaps his most famous song, Night and Day. It was introduced on Broadway by Fred Astaire in The Gay Divorce, and Astaire also had a hit record of the tune that went to #1 and stayed in the top spot in 1932 for 10 weeks. There are several accounts about the song's origin. One mentions that Porter was inspired by an Islamic prayer when he visited Morocco. Another, more mundane account says he was inspired by the Moorish architecture of the Alcazar Hotel in Cleveland Heights, Ohio. In any event, the song was so associated with Porter that when Hollywood filmed his life story in 1946, the movie was entitled Night and Day. Given that the song has been recorded by hundreds of singers over the last 88 years, we thought we'd deliver it to you now in an altogether different way that continues to honor the spirit and enduring greatness of the song and reminds us where it first became famous through Fred. To perform it for you, please welcome a gentleman who starred on Broadway in Dames at Sea and sang and danced on one of the greatest stages in New York City, Radio City Music Hall. Here is Danny Gardner.
Like the beat, beat, beat of the tom-tom when the jungle shadows fall. Like the tick, tick, tock of the stately clock as it stands against the wall. Like the drip, drip, drip of the raindrops when the summer showers are through. Still a voice within me keeps repeating you, night and day, you are the one. Only you beneath the moon or under the sun. Whether near to me or far, no matter, darling, where you are, I think of night and day, day and night. Why is it so that this longing for you follows wherever I go? In the roaring traffic's boom, in the silence of my lonely room, I think of you night and day, day and night. Under the hide of me, there's an oh such a hungry yearning burning inside of me. And its torment won't be through till you let me spend my life making love to you, day and night, night and day.
night and day, under the hide of me, there's such a hungry yearning burning inside of me, and its torment won't be through till you let me spend my life making love to you day and night, night and day, day and night, night and day.
Our next song is from the most popular musical theater production of the 1950s, My Fair Lady. This Lerner and Loewe musical has been revived many times on Broadway, and of course it's been turned into a classic movie musical as well. This famous song you're about to hear is usually sung by a smitten young man, but in fact there's nothing in the lyric that precludes its performance by a smitten young lady. So let's look at it that way. And to perform it for you tonight, here is the Tony-nominated star of Fun Home, Beth Malone.
I have often walked down this street before, but the pavement always stayed beneath my feet before. All at once am I several stories high, knowing I'm on the street where you live. Are there lilac trees in this part of town? Can you hear a lark in any other part of town? Does enchantment pour out of every door? No, it's just on the street where you live. And oh, the towering feeling, just to know somehow you are near. The overpowering feeling that any second you may suddenly appear. People stop and stare, they don't bother me, for there's nowhere else on earth that I would rather be. Let the time go by, I won't care if I can be here on the street where you live, can be here on the street where you live.
This year is the centennial of our next song, and there have been so many hit versions of it during its 100 years of existence that its original version has mostly been obscured by time. Some of you know it as a hit song made famous by Fanny Brice and then later by Barbra Streisand. Some of you know it as a hit song made famous by Edith Piaf. Others know it as a hit by Billie Holiday or as a #1 hit by Diana Ross. But the song's first hit recording was in 1920 in its original French version by Miss Daae. The song is so famous, it made it into the Grammy Hall of Fame not once, but twice, once for Fanny Brice and once for Diana Ross. To sing this iconic song on its 100th birthday, and for the very personal reason that she has been quarantined in New York while her husband has been quarantined in California and she misses him terribly, here is Olivier Award-winning actress and Drama Desk nominee Lesli Margherita.
Oh, my man, I love him so. He'll never know. All my life is just despair. But I don't care. When he takes me in his arms, the world is bright. All right. What's the difference if I say I'll go away when I know I'll come back on my knees someday. For whatever my man is, I am his forevermore. Oh, my man, I love him so. He'll never know. All my life is just despair, but I don't care. When he takes me in his arms, the world is bright. All right. What's the difference if I say I'll go away, but I know I'll come back on my knees someday. For whatever my man is, I am his forevermore.
In 1965, a great collaboration was born between the new composing team Kander and Ebb and their 19-year-old star Liza Minnelli. It was their first Broadway musical, Flora the Red Menace. The fact is, however, that the show was not written for Liza. At one point, it was a vehicle for Barbra Streisand, and at another point, Edie Gourmet was being pursued to star. But in the end, not only did Liza win the role, she won the Tony Award for her performance, becoming the youngest person to ever win a Tony, a record she held for just 1 year, when she was eclipsed in 1966 when 11-year-old Frankie Michaels won the Tony for his Best Supporting Performance in May. Well, Flora the Red Menace was not a hit, but it gave us this beautiful, tender song. In the show, it's about the sudden, surprising arrival of love. The song has special meaning for our next performer, who starred in such Broadway musicals as The Woman in White, Curtains, and An American in Paris. You see, she just had a baby. So, this is a love song of an entirely different kind. Please welcome Broadway star and new mother, Jill Paice.
When it all comes true, just the way you planned, it's funny, but the bells don't ring. It's a quiet thing when you hold the world in your trembling hands. You'd think you'd hear a choir sing. It's a quiet thing. There are no exploding fireworks. Where's the roaring of the crowds? Maybe it's this strange new atmosphere way up here among the clouds. But I don't hear the drums, I don't hear the band. The sounds, I'm told, such moments bring. Happiness comes in on tiptoe. Well, what do you know? It's a quiet thing, a very quiet thing.
Cole Porter originally wrote this next song in 1934 for a 20th Century Fox Western movie musical that never got made. The song languished for 10 years until it got picked up in the 1944 movie Hollywood Canteen and was performed by, of all people, Roy Rogers. After Roy sang it in the movie, the song was suddenly a hit, and it became an even bigger hit when Bing Crosby and the Andrews Sisters walked into a recording studio having never heard the song before, were handed the music, and threw together an arrangement and recorded it in half an hour. That song sold over 1 million copies and was a #1 hit on the Billboard chart for 8 weeks. The song was Don't Fence Me In. To sing it for you now, I'm delighted to present a TV star, a recording artist, and a 2-time Tony nominee. Here is Tom Wopat.
Oh, give me land, lots of land with the starry skies above. Don't fence me in. Let me ride over wide open spaces that I love. Don't fence me in. Let me be by myself in the evening breeze. Listen to the murmur of the cottonwood trees. Set me off forever, but I beg you, please. Don't fence me in, just turn me loose. Let me straddle my old saddle underneath the western sky. On my cayuse, let me wander over yonder till I see the mountains rise. I want to ride to the ridge where the west commences. Gaze at the moon until I lose my senses. Can't look at hobbles and I can't stand fences. Don't fence me in. Mr. Ted Firth. Just turn me loose, let me straddle my old saddle underneath the western skies. On my cayuse, let me wander over yonder till I see the mountains rise. I want to ride to the ridge where the west commences. Gaze at the moon till I lose my senses. Can't look at hobbles and I can't stand fences. Don't fence me in. No, don't fence me in. You better not do it. Don't fence me in. That's right. Pretty close. Don't fence me in. You guys stay safe. All right, bye-bye.
This next song, What a Wonderful World, was given specifically to Louis Armstrong in 1967 during another turbulent time in American history when Vietnam War protests and the civil rights movement were just tearing up the country. It was given to Louis Armstrong by its composers because they were inspired by his ability to bring people of different races together. The recording session for the song started at 2 a.m. in Las Vegas after Louis finished his midnight show at the Tropicana Hotel. Armstrong had just signed with ABC Records, and the ABC president, Larry Newton, showed up to watch. He came into the studio expecting a swingy pop song like Hello Dolly. When he heard the slow pace of What a Wonderful World, he tried to stop the session. The result? The president of ABC Records was locked out of the studio. Initially, the song only sold 1,000 copies in the United States because the ABC president refused to support the song. But it became a #1 hit in the UK and did really well everywhere else in the world, so eventually it became famous in the United States as well. To sing this song of hope for you is the Broadway star of such shows as The Times They Are A-Changin', Mamma Mia, and Dear Evan Hansen. She's accompanied on guitar by her husband, Broadway composer Craig Carnelia. Here is Lisa Brescia.
I see trees of green, red roses What a wonderful world. I see skies of blue, clouds of white, the bright blessed day and the dark sacred night. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, and also on the faces of people passing by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Oh, I think to myself, oh, what a wonderful world. Right, Larry?
I have one more famous song waiting for you at the other end of my brief thank yous, so please wait for it. My first thank you is to my technical director, Alexander Yakovlev, without whom this presentation would not have been possible. I do not have these skills, so thank you, Alexander. And my penultimate thank you is to this special woman who brings her wit and wisdom to these shows. What a wonderful world my life is because of her. I'm talking about my extraordinary bride. Thank you, Barbara Siegel. And finally, a huge thank you to the people who gave money so that our performers could be paid. Thank you to our audience producers who came through to help. And this is your opportunity to join our growing list of audience producers. There's the GoFundMe campaign, which you've been seeing on the screen occasionally throughout this concert. You can also give directly through either the Venmo or Zelle apps on your phone if you have those. Or you can give the old-fashioned way with a check by emailing me at siegelentertainment@msn.com. I'll email you back with the information you'll need. We'll put all of these methods up on the screen for you at the very end of our concert and hold them on the screen for you for a little while so you have time to write them down for reference. Let me remind you that this is not a streaming video. You can go back to see anything, including how to contribute. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I know that out there tonight there are a number of you who are going through your own individual storms. But as long as we have this music to help us get through them, and we can share them together, we'll never walk alone. To close our show, we have a drama desk, honoree, and star of such shows as It Should Have Been You and Escape to Margaritaville. Here is Lisa Howard.
When you walk through a storm, hold your head up high and don't be afraid of the dark. At the end of the storm is a golden sky and the sweet silver song of the lark. Walk on through the wind, walk on